Hello everybody, my name's Gilly English from the Dan Maskell Tennis Trust, and I'm delighted to be here today with Sam Smith, who is one of our vice presidents, former British #1 and a leading tennis commentator. And joining us today is Louise Hunt, who is a Paralympic wheelchair tennis player and also an ambassador for Dan Maskell Trust. And Sam is going to do a little chat with Louise, which we're going to record to help to raise the profile of the trust. So Sam, over to you to do the business, if I may.
Yes, thank you, Gilly. Hi there, Louise. Where are we talking to you from today?
I live just outside of Swindon, so you're talking to me from my home, just outside Swindon.
Is that Wanborough with the quite famous parish church? Is that the same place?
Well, no, yes, that's actually where I was born. So yeah, I'm impressed you know that actually.
Yes, I was quite interested in that actually, because you've got a very unusual parish church there, so it's quite rare.
Yeah, so. We've got I'm gonna get this wrong now. The steeple and
the tower.
Yeah, the tower as well. Yes, it's quite. Yeah, it's rare, isn't it?
Yes, it is. That's why I knew about it. But that was just a rather unhelpful tangent, but not to worry.
That's cool.
It's been quite a long sort of a long time since sort of March and lockdown. How have you managed to train and just keep yourself sane?
Oh well, I'm not going to deny that the break was actually quite nice. I feel like my body has never felt better, in all honesty. I think reduced travel and things like that. But I'm really, really fortunate in that my partner is also a Paralympian. So he's actually a judo fighter. So I was really lucky that I had him throughout the whole of lockdown. So we trained together. So we did all of our fitness sort of stuff together. A lot of shadow swings. I really missed hitting an actual ball. When I went back to tennis for the first time, because I've just been doing swings like this with my racket with no ball. When I went back, I was like, oh, yeah, normally do actually hit a tennis ball. It felt really strange. But yeah, I actually quite enjoyed like the challenge of sort of training on my own and finding like new sort of inventive ways to keep sort of fit. So I feel like I embraced it as much as I possibly could have.
Give me an example of an inventive way to keep fit.
Oh goodness. So we've been again, this is for both me and Chris, my partner. So he's visually impaired. So we managed to find a way for him to ride a bike. And that was by me, because obviously balance is quite difficult if you can't completely see. So we put a flag on the back of my bike that reached out far enough for him to follow. So that was one thing we did. We tied a little smaller tractor tyre to the back of my chair, so I had a bit of resistance cushion. That was another little invent. We went down to the local farm and sort of asked to borrow a tyre. Was not fun actually. I don't know why I did that. I have better ideas.
Look, we have to be creative in these times. One thing I'm always interested in is how did you get started with tennis? Because I understand you were very sporty for a young age, but why tennis?
Yeah, well, so part of me almost thinks I was destined to play tennis in a way, because there's been tennis courts around me my whole life. So we moved house, and our neighbours who we already knew, they had a tennis court in their garden. How cool is that? And then they actually sold their bit of land, their tennis courts, the same year they built tennis courts opposite my house. So I kind of feel like I was destined to end up playing that sport, really. It's like they followed me. But tennis ended up being kind of the sport that I always say I fell in love with, because I tried loads of things. As you said, I was really sporty. I tried loads of different sports, but tennis just excited me the most. I feel like it was the thing. I get bored quite easily, in all honesty, but with tennis, I never get bored because there's so many different things to learn, like from court surfaces to different balls, different rackets, different climates, all the different shots, pushing techniques. It's just endless. So I just always find it exciting, and it's never bored me. So I think that's honestly why it kind of captured my heart, and it's kind of stayed really. And that was when I was 5. It's been a long time, and I'm still playing. So going well so far.
Yeah, you're going extremely well, double Paralympian, and you've already achieved so much. And how important is it for wheelchair athletes and tennis players to get support? And what sort of support do you need? I know you were a very good junior as you progress through the juniors and then into the senior ranks.
Yeah, well, I think if we kind of look at disability sport as a whole, so obviously I'm a wheelchair tennis player, but there's a massive variety of disability tennis and sports. We've got learning disabilities, we've got Dan Maskell Trust supports people with, mental health issues, and it's so broad. But for all of us, funding is really tough, and tennis, it's an expensive sport. from coaching and the specialist equipment and things. So any support is really well received, because it's really tough to play, because it's unfortunately expensive, but it's really worth it. So like on a personal level, a wheelchair, is at least about £3,000. Actually now it's a bit, like, more often than not, they're a bit more expensive. Not many people have that, just to pluck out of the air and, buy a chair, but I can't play without it, So those kinds of things are really important.
And in terms of, was it very important, obviously, support from family, and obviously you need someone to travel with you as well? So would you say the costs and the support is almost greater than an able-bodied athlete in some ways?
Yeah, no, it really is, and it is mainly down to that equipment side of things. Like I say, you have the added things like a chair, but yeah, I was very fortunate. My family are still amazing, but they very much, my mum, bless her, I dragged her around the world until I got to a point where I was obviously old enough, responsible enough, she might say, but I could do everything myself. I had all this until I could drive. She was driving me everywhere, because that's another cost, isn't it, the travel. But yeah, I was very fortunate up until I managed to get a point where I had enough funding and support to do it myself, that I had people, helping me and doing it for me. And like when you're a junior, poor parents spend half their wages, don't they, on the coaching and things, but hopefully they feel it's paid off. So
I'm sure that they do. You're sort of coming up to the sort of 30 mark, but you've had already a fantastic career. Are there any particular?
There's just a 30 in there.
I did drop the
30. You breezed over that quite quick.
I'm just saying you had a long and distinguished career with much to come. That's where I was heading
Okay,
towards.
I'll let you off.
Yeah, I've tailed myself out. But I mean, what has been the really special moments for you?
Oh wow, it's always quite hard to narrow it down. Like as you mentioned, I'm getting on now, and it's been a long time. It's quite scary when I think about actually how long I've played tennis for, because I don't remember it actually not being in my life, which is actually a lovely thing. But I think the highlight for me was London 2012. Rio was also amazing, but for me to have my first Paralympic Games in my own country, and I think I hope you'll remember the impact it had and how incredible it was. And we were the sport that sold out first as well, so it was really cool to be a part of that. So London 2012 is a highlight, but for me, competing at Wimbledon is as a British athlete, although I can't pull off white, it was a real honour, and I'm so proud to have competed there a couple of times, because I think it's a real special thing for all tennis players, but especially being a British athlete. That absolutely for me was just cherry on top, really. So yeah, Wimbledon and London, I would say, are my biggest highlights, but there's been lots, which is lovely, really, but because I've been around for so long.
Do you, because you've had this long career, it seems very much from the outside that attitudes towards wheelchair athletes has changed pretty dramatically, especially with the success of London 2012. Can you quantify that in how the experience has changed to you, and maybe how attitudes to you as an athlete have changed in the last sort of couple of decades?
It's changed massively. But like you say, there's been lots of things that have changed and developed, aside from attitude. So things like, I think our TV coverage is better. Funding and sponsorship opportunities, although they're still not on the level of able-bodied, I think they have improved. But the key thing is what you said, is attitudes. And the difference I've felt is, so here's a good example. So going into schools, so I do a lot of work in schools, talking to young people about my experiences and trying to sort of, educate a bit on what disability sport is all about, and how a disability doesn't mean you can't do or achieve anything. But if you took one of my talks, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and it was more, it's almost hard to explain. I had to really go into detail about a lot of things, what disability sports are out there, what the Paralympics actually is, what does Paralympics stand for, all of those things. Now I go in, they know more about me than I do. They always catch me out. They ask me, how many times will I always get it wrong? They always know better than me. They know all the sports, they know all the rules. They're aware of it, they know what the Paralympics is. They've studied it even in school. So it's almost like you go from being someone who they think, oh, it's really cool that you actually do something despite your disability. And now it's like, wow, you're an elite athlete who works really hard, and I want to celebrate and get to know you because you've worked hard and achieved something, if that makes sense. So you go from being someone who almost is like, well done, good for you, to actually respect, you are an athlete, not just someone with a disability who's got out and done something. Actually, we work just as hard. So I've seen a massive change in attitudes. But it's bad when they catch me out. They do it all the time. All the time. They know more than me. They tell me rules on disability sports that I don't even know. But that's really cool as well. Like, you know, in schools now, they are teaching disability sports, the rules on different disability sports. They do it in PE as like a generic thing. It's really cool. Like some schools I go to have like wheelchair basketball chairs, and they run wheelchair basketball sessions as part of PE for able-bodied kids. I mean, how cool. It's like become normal, which is great.
That is an astonishing change, and one that's happened seems quite rapidly as well. Which is, and we'll see how hopefully the momentum continues. But in terms of your career, I know you're doing the motivational speaking, and you're an athlete mentor, which is fantastic. What in terms of tennis goals and getting back to competing, what are you wanting to achieve?
Sorry,
is it a dog or a cat? I can't quite see.
Yes, I was trying to see.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I just saw him go.
No. What's he called? Bring him in.
I thought he was about to growl, so I don't want to say about. His name's Milo, and he's 9 months old.
Oh, Milo, you are very handsome.
Don't, he knows it as well.
He's lovely.
Yeah, apologies if he barks.
No, it's all part of the Zoom experience. Dogs.
I've got 3 dogs, Louise.
Yes. Oh, good.
They could do anything at any minute.
He doesn't like him. He doesn't have the attention, so he's been quite good till now. But I heard him. But if you heard him, starts to growl towards the window because he likes to keep an eye on things.
Okay.
But I thought he was about to bark. Sorry. Back to your question. So in terms of things I still want to achieve, I mean, obviously Tokyo is in my sights, and that's been quite a tough thing to get my head around. Obviously, it's shifting a whole year. I'm so pleased they have moved it, and I hope it really doesn't get cancelled. I know that's still a potential possibility, but you know, we have to work towards like it is going to happen. So I'm just working really, really hard towards that, really. But it's been a lot to get my head around, and you know, we adjust everything, and you know, it's tough at the moment to do goal setting. Like I have the goal of getting to Tokyo, but our tour hasn't even gone back yet. The date keeps changing, understandably. So at the moment, I don't even know when my next tournament is. So for me, all the goals at the moment are all about training and what I can control right now, because it's really hard because I don't know when I'm going to be back on the tour, really. I just know that I can't wait to play a tournament again. Like I say, the break's been lovely, but now I'm like, oh, I just want to compete, because it's just, we can replicate, you know, some competitive stuff in training as best we can, but, you know, it's never the same. You know, it's getting on a plane and, you know, getting out there and competing in proper competition. So, yeah, I have Tokyo in my sights, but in the meantime, it's goal setting and training until we know, you know, when I can get out there and hopefully win some points, really, and get out there competing again.
There's only so long you can drag a tractor tire behind a chair before it gets old.
I know, tell me about it.
Louise, you're in the same boat as all the able-bodied athletes, all the wheelchair athletes all over the world. And also, you've mentioned a lot today about support, and, you know, also how hard it is to get sponsorship. The Dan Maskell Trust have set up a Just Giving page, Dan Maskell 20, Maskell with 2 L's, very important that. And just give us sort of a little potted idea of just how important that is and what a difference it makes to all the wheelchair athletes.
Well, so as I mentioned earlier, like, this is the amazing thing about, and I thank you to Dan Maskell for supporting people and putting on this Just Giving page and trying to help people, because the support is priceless. Like, I'm someone that can really vouch for, without support like from the Dan Maskell Trust, it's just not possible. I never would have got to where I have without support from places like the Dan Maskell Trust. But like I say, it's invaluable support, because I think I'm right on there, Gillian, that support is really broad. So it's not just wheelchair athletes, it's for anybody with all disabilities and differences that you guys want to support and help get out there and reach their full potential. So it's priceless. Like I say, most sports, but especially tennis, is really expensive. So any support makes a huge difference. Like I say, I never would have got to where I was without support like that. It never would have happened. So it literally is priceless. It's something that can transform somebody's life. I mean, who knows what I would have been if I didn't receive any kind of support, you know, way back when. Even and now I'm still supported now, but, you know, way back when, especially when I'm starting, I mean, I wouldn't be here talking to you now.
No, that's fascinating to hear that. And Louise, well, thank you ever so much for your time today. We wish you and your partner well. And I think
Thank you. Sorry about Milo's interruption.
Time to give it. He's positioned himself very nicely there for some attention. But thanks ever so much, and we'll look out for you when you get on the restart.
Thank you so much, guys.
See you at Wimbledon soon, hopefully.
Yes, I'll see you there.
Okay.
Thanks,
Take care.
Louise. Thank you.
Okay.